Haaretz is reporting on the effects of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, also known as BDS, which protests the Israeli occupation. They say, quote, responding to international boycott pressures and other constraints, a growing number of Israeli companies operating in the West Bank are moving their facilities to locations within the country's internationally recognized borders, according to a report prepared by an anti-occupation organization that monitors such activities. The report obtained by Haaretz shows that aside from the recent high-profile cases like SodaStream, the seltzer machine manufacturer, other prominent Israeli companies have also been part of this trend, even if they have managed to evade publicity. So, you ready for the numbers? They say roughly 20 to 30% of the companies that were in the West Bank, in occupied territories, are now gone. BDS is working. That's what that means. Now, people probably wonder, well, why is it that all of a sudden there's this massive backlash? Netanyahu talks about it. Hillary Clinton spoke about it in her speech to AIPAC. This is something people, oh my God, they're really concerned about it now. Well, they're concerned about it because it's fucking working. Why is it working? It's working because you have the moral high ground and you keep it. You're not trying to end occupation by guns now when you do it this way. You're trying to end it through economic pressure. You're trying to end it through boycotts, divestments, and sanctions. So you keep the moral high ground. It's obvious you have the moral high ground. And then eventually, you're going to actually squeeze people who are well off in Israel, and then they turn to the government, and they press the government. I'm losing money like a motherfucker here. You're going to have to do something to fix this problem and to make it so that the boycotts stop. Because I can't keep losing money, and if we got to sit down at the table, if we got to make some kind of two-state deal, as long as it allows us to not have our economy squeezed anymore, fine, we'll do it. We'll do it. So it's working. And that's why they're screaming about it now more than ever. And that's why there's this new campaign where it's just link it to anti-Semitism. Anybody who supports BDS, by definition, hates all Jews. Well, that's as ridiculous as an Islamist saying, if you criticize verses in the Quran, you're an Islamophobe. You're an anti-Muslim bigot because you disagree with verses in the Quran, like semen comes from your backbone, or in the Hadith, like Jews turn to apes over time. You're a bigot because you won't accept my bigotry. That's what this is like. This is exactly like that. Somehow now anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Wanting to stop occupation, oppression, and apartheid means you hate all Jews. That's what I like to call a pathetic dodge. A pathetic dodge. And now we know why they're making those desperate arguments. They're getting desperate. It also hurts when the entire international community is against you. And they're like, okay, no, stop. Stop doing it. I love how when people point to the number of, condemnations from the UN against Israel, as if it's evidence that, like, obviously every major country on earth is just massively anti-Semitic. Or maybe there's a little something going on that we should address, like occupation, apartheid. Maybe that's what they're mad about. Now, there is one criticism that I think makes sense when people say, yeah, but wait, how is it you're criticizing Israel more than, for example, Saudi Arabia, which is a Wahhabi terror state, which, says all atheists are terrorists, they behead people for drug smuggling and all these insane crimes that are not crimes. That I agree with them on. But the answer is not criticize Israel less and go softer on occupation and apartheid. No. The answer is criticize Saudi Arabia more. That's what the answer is. The answer is get them off the fucking human rights panel. They don't know dick about human rights. They're one of the biggest human rights violators on the planet, okay? But that's the answer. The answer is you criticize Saudi Arabia more, you criticize Iran more, you criticize the U.S. more, honestly. Because we fucking we had a torture program. We waged an illegal war that killed minimum 200,000 civilians in Iraq. It was the wrong country. So there's more condemnation should fly around, not less on Israel. Oh my God, hold back because you must be anti-Semitic, or not. Or you're just fucking dodging the fact that there's occupation, there's oppression, there's apartheid going on there. So yes, BDS is the answer. Of course it's the answer. We know it's the answer because it worked with South Africa. In South Africa, they had a horrendous situation. You put enough economic pressure on them, all of a sudden, did we say no peace? Let's try to make a deal. Exactly. That's fucking exactly right. Now, let's also be clear about one other thing. Are there some people affiliated with BDS who would want right to return? I'm sure there are. Are they going to get that, and are they right to want that? No and no. So part of any peace deal is understanding Israel has a right to exist. Of course. It's just a matter of where you draw the borders and what kind of two-state deal you have. And what's generally understood as the most reasonable deal, the best compromise would be the 67 borders. I like the idea of building a big wall to separate them. You split up Jerusalem, and you have international recognition for both sides. That, I think, is the proper peace deal moving forward. There are people on both sides who are bigots and do want all the land, and there are people on both sides who are not bigots and still want all the land. And then there are people who are more reasonable and voices of moderation who can come together and make a deal. And since Netanyahu has been so obstinate in his refusal to do a deal, well, then now the answer is, all right, so we're going to force your punk ass into a deal. How you like them apples? And that's what BDS is succeeding at. 20 to 30% of the companies leaving? Keep going, and that number is going to keep ticking up. And then eventually we'll sit down at the table, we'll get a deal, and it will be done the right way. It'll be done in the way that's not unethical, it's not immoral, it's not counterproductive when Hamas tries to do violence. It'll be done in the right way, where you have the moral high ground, you stay peaceful, and you use economic pressure to get the proper outcome.